Hey there, fellow warriors of keystroke and backslash. Got a character who needs killing? Have an evil warlord who needs to shuffle off this mortal coil? What about some poor schmuck who, through no fault of his own, is destined to meet some grisly end?
Boy, do I!
As the author of your story, you're the god of your world. You can do whatever you like. But maybe you're searching for ways to make those deaths a little more believable. Perhaps your deaths are feeling a little samey? Well, you've come to the right place. Hi, I'm Matt Digman.
And I'm Ryan Roddy.
We're the authors of The Dark That Dwells, a sci-fi fantasy space opera that we published on July 10th of this year. Just like you, we know that conflict drives the story. Conflict can be romantic or possibly internal, but sometimes you just need to smash someone to paste or obliterate some poor, unsuspecting fool down to the atomic level.
And just like those tense arguments, you want your readers to feel like what they're reading is plausible. You want to get them grounded in your world. One surefire way to do that is to write what you know and draw from your own experiences.
You're a wizard, Harry.
But what do you do if the only combat you faced was in the comments section?
Boom. Roasted.
If we wanted to write a scene on sailing, we'd read up and watch videos about sailing, shipbuilding, and nautical terminology. It's the same for astronomy or metalworking or whatever random subject we want to include in our stories.
So, where do you go for your information on injuries, diseases, and all the terrible ailments your sadistic little heart can dream up?
Well, that's where we come in.
Writing powers, activate!
For our day jobs, Ryan and I are both pediatric emergency medicine doctors.
So we see a large variety of illnesses and injuries on a daily basis.
We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two.
We want to pass that knowledge on to you so you can put a little reality into your fantasy.
For this reason, we're excited to present to you the debut of our new series,
Doctoring the Books.
On today's episode of Doctoring the Books, we're going to show you the smart way to kill your characters with penetrating traumas.
I'm a leaf on the wind. Watch out.
Technically speaking, there are 3 types of traumas that fall into this category. Puncture wounds occur when a sharp object pierces the skin and creates a small hole without entering a body cavity. Penetrating traumas are those that have a sharp object piercing the skin and enter a tissue or body cavity. Perforating wounds occur when a sharp object passes completely through the body, causing an entry and exit wound.
So what types of situations might these injuries occur in? Of course, there's the everyday duel or fight to the death. Maybe someone's getting sneaked up on and stabbed in the back. Perhaps your unwitting character has stepped on the wrong stone and triggered a fatal trap. But with regards to penetrating trauma, the outcome is the same. Not good. So let's quickly review some anatomy basics to keep in mind.
Our bodies are made up of a framework of bones covered in various types of tissues, including muscles and skin. Our solid organs are within the skull, chest, abdomen, and pelvis regions. The body tissues and organs are supplied by a system of blood vessels, both deeper, larger vessels and smaller superficial vessels. And the body functions through a network of nerves that branch from the brain and spinal cord.
When we think about traumas in the emergency room, we tend to think about them in terms of the anatomical region that's been injured.
And we can apply this method to our writing too.
Wow.
So, let's break it down by systems and add in the following complications.
Dead now, dead later, or dead way later. The skull is pretty tough, but it can be penetrated. And while there have been cases of skull penetration that somewhat worked out, for the most part the brain wasn't made to be poked. Besides the obvious problems with moving gray matter around, significant bleeds can occur with cuts to the arteries found there.
The eyes are especially vulnerable, as are all the soft tissues associated with your mouth. The tongue can bleed profusely if the injury is severe enough, and you're only ever one sharp stick away from a devastating carotid artery injury through your soft palate.
Significant disruption of brain tissue or injury to the brainstem will kill your characters instantly. Think fast-moving, high-energy trauma. These folks are unlikely to get up.
Injuries that cause damage to the blood vessels can lead to a relatively slow bleed that puts pressure on the brain, and the symptoms can worsen over time as that pressure continues to build up. So these victims might be lucid anywhere from minutes to hours and then suddenly decompensate.
Infections can be introduced by penetration, causing abscesses and all sorts of nasty tissue compromise that can spread beyond the point of entry. Personality changes or seizures can be long-term issues as well.
Okay, this region is arguably the most vulnerable spot in the body. The airway, esophagus, spinal cord, and some major blood vessels take up residence in the neck. Penetration here will cause tissue disruptions that will instantly lead to some big trouble. Compromise your character's airway and they're going to suffocate, and any cuts to those major vessels can cause them to bleed out fast.
Slow bleeds can sometimes get worse. Air can leak out from the airway and spread through the tissues of the chest and potentially cause problems there. Paralysis from spinal cord injury can lead to a dangerous situation if your character is immobilized in a less than safe place.
Infection is going to be your slow player. Most likely, an infection introduced here is going to travel down to the chest or up to the head. The chest is a treasure trove of vital organs. The heart, lungs, and all the associated blood vessels, well, they're protected by the ribs for a reason.
Direct injury to the heart can impair its ability to send life-giving blood to the rest of the body. Penetration of the chest wall can cause lung collapse when air pressure starts to build outside of the lung, known as a tension pneumothorax. Injury to the major blood vessels can cause massive bleeds inside the chest, causing the function of the heart and lungs to be significantly compromised.
Some of the conditions we just mentioned can take some time to build up, or some can wax and wane. Think about characters having a battle with a pneumothorax that keeps coming back. Blood buildup around the heart and the pericardium will eventually squeeze the heart until it can't pump anymore. Slow bleeds and infections, or complications due to spinal cord injuries.
There's nowhere safe in the chest to get stabbed. You'll be guilty of a mortal sin if you stab your character in the upper chest and think they'll be just fine. If it enters the chest wall, there will be complications. And blood. The abdomen holds everything from bowels to kidneys and even reproductive organs. The blood supply is rich, and the only physical protection is muscle and connective tissue. It's a big, open area, often the easiest target for those feeling stabby.
Think significant impalings. Big cuts to the abdominal aorta can bleed profusely and rapidly, and trauma from a large enough implement can disembowel you, which generally leads to a pretty painful demise.
Cuts to solid organs with good blood supply like the liver, spleen, or kidneys can cause bleeds that might not be apparent right away. These victims will have significant pain and a progression from looking kinda okay to having hardening of the abdomen, pallor or paleness of the skin, and changes in mental status.
All right, say it with me, y'all. Infections. Contents from your guts belong inside those guts, not free in your abdomen.
There's poo in there.
Bacteria can be helpful for digestion and protecting you from outside pathogens you may swallow, but if they have their way and get free in your belly, they tend to misbehave. Finally, a place where I can stab my darling character and have her just walk it off. Wrong. Well, maybe not wrong, but there are still some important considerations.
'Tis but a scratch. A scratch? Your arm's off.
Brachial arteries in the arms and femoral arteries in the legs can bleed profusely if penetrated, leading to exsanguination. This is more of a problem in the legs, but uncontrolled bleeds will be devastating no matter where they are. Other than muscle, bones, and nerves, there isn't much else here. To help minimize blood loss, you can have a character use a tourniquet, but remember, not too tight.
Bleeding. Think a spear to the thigh or anything that's going to cause you rapid exsanguination. Still bleeding, just slower this time.
Infections or gangrene from loss of blood supply, and take those tourniquets down in an hour or so.
Which brings me to my main point.
Well, hopefully you've learned something here that can add some weight to your action and provide some much needed complications for your injured characters.
We only ask one thing. When that sneaky rogue stabs your favorite character in the back, slips the blade between the ribs, and causes that devastating hemothorax, have them lean in and say,
Digman and Roddy send their regards. Thank you so much for watching.
Let us know in the comments what topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes of Doctoring the Books.
And if you have any specific questions, don't be afraid to reach out. We'd love to help.
Nobody asked for your help but Grace!
If you like our content and you want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon for notifications so you don't miss any of the myriad diabolical methods for
How to kill your characters.